I have to imagine he's described this future to Fulkin, and Fulkin chose to be on board for that. So what is the future of Zybok that requires all of this to happen? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we are back with another episode of Visions of Escaflowne. Of course, I come back with a board, as I always do, which also includes a board changelog, which is all of one thing. I added Marlene. We saw her on screen for the first time, outside of the context of every time she's been mentioned. Now she's on the board. I also kind of restructured essentially the Prince Sheed relationship lines, because, the Duke of Freed and Marlene are obviously the parents, and they then tie to Prince Sheed, where at the same time, Alan is technically related to him. I don't know how to say this. I think I say it more clearly in my notes off the top of my head. I'm not going to try. Either way, there are multiple blue lines tying this kid to other adults, is what I'm trying to say. That said, as I said, I also have notes. I was listening to the opening again while I was taking notes, and I thought to myself, this really reminds me of the opening to Ah My Goddess. So I had to look it up. No Need for Promises was sung by Maya Sakamoto in 1996, whereas Open Your Mind was sung by Yoko Ishida in 2005. So no, not correct on my part. Not only that, for some reason I thought Oh My Goddess came out in the 90s, and more than that, I thought it came out before this. So, I've been taught. Today's card, La Papessa, aka the High Priest or the Popess. So as a shot in the dark, I ran all the cards we've seen through an AI and told it to use the Celtic Cross layout to see how it interpreted the overall reading Hitomi would have been doing using all of these cards so far. And this is what the AI says. This reading speaks of a profound period of transformation, death in the tower, where old structures are collapsing to make way for new beginnings. Ace of Pentacles, Judgment. The recent past involved waiting and gaining perspective, Hanged Man. But the future holds clarity and karmic balance, Justice. Your determination, Chariot, and ability to find moderation, Temperance, will help you navigate this upheaval. The outcome is steady and grounded, Knight of Pentacles, but you must release unhealthy attachments, the Devil, and trust your intuition, High Priestess, to fully step into your power. Embrace the chaos as a catalyst for rebirth, and remember the destruction of the tower often clears the path for something far more aligned with your true purpose. Now, I'm not going to say that you couldn't read that and see what's going to happen in the show, mainly because it's a tarot reading. It's literally open to interpretation, whatever you want to think. The element of the show doing it is just the fact that they're characters in the show. They can interpret things to be whatever they want to be, and they're making it Hitomi's real power. I just thought it was funny that the AI could come up with such general nonsense that you could apply it to anything. I'm not surprised to know that Escaflowne has a game attached to it. The story so far is playing out like a SNES-era Final Fantasy. At the start of the episode, listening to Malerna implore Duke Freed for help, I was reminded of any number of those games I played, thinking on how it's always a character-level story that takes place in a world conflict that escalates over time. I was still considering everything from the view of the characters moving from one story point to the next, despite having taken notes about the 4 Zybok generals and the invasion force. The fact that everything is mostly character relationships and interaction, it quickly slips my mind unless reminded. I'm not sure if Dornkirk is going to be an Atlantean or just an Earthling. Like I said before, that CD on the merchant's table got there somehow, so clearly someone else from Earth arrived not too long ago, implying that not just Hitomi has been transported here. The werewolf people said there used to be a transportation network that they teleported back and forth with. I had the theory in the past that Hitomi's grandmother might be from Gaia, so Dorn, being a man from Earth that forged an empire, wouldn't be shocking for me to find out. Okay, I get that Hitomi is going through some PTSD shit right now, but we also have to take in that she's the one that's been offering up her visions for everyone all this time. So twisting it as though you are being used as a tool is kind of a shit move. She's been asking to be relied upon, and then when everyone gets comfortable enough to rely on her openly, she smacks them down for it. That's just presenting drama for drama's sake. I see no reason she couldn't have had a sit-down conversation about it without snapping at Van, as though all he's done is use her. He asked for her help, and otherwise has gone out of his way to protect her. Beyond that, his ask was completely reasonable towards making sure no one else got hurt. She's having these visions whether something happens or not, so might as well make them worthwhile. Otherwise, she's going to have visions and people will die that otherwise could have been saved. I suppose I better at least make one note that I've been right about Sheed being Alan's kid. I feel like it comes across as self-congratulatory, but if I avoid making the note, I might just forget and think it was still my theory the entire time. For the sake of the notes, just including and I was right. I have to assume that Zybok, despite being the bad guys, are not so evil as to have named their armies demon armies on purpose. I'm going to assume, for now, that in this case demon means the same thing that Vaughn used the word demon for in the first episode. Alongside the theory that Dornkirk might be from Earth, and thus named his armies after that conceit. And my last note here, to be fair to the whole Sheed thing, Alan may have been the biological father, but as far as the one who raised Sheed, that seems to be Freed. By the way, I hate this name, it's a convention. Sheed, Freed, that's the rhyming, or the mix-up. Anyway. So whose son he is, I'm not going to give Alan all the points for saying some meaningful stuff to the kid now, and not being present the rest of his life. Unless we see something to the contrary, Alan is his father, but Freed is his dad. That said, those were my notes. So I think there's nothing left for us to do here but to hop on into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
See, I do like the element that the song of the opening is also a song of the world. I used that word to describe that situation a number of times, and now I can't remember what it is. It starts with a D. It's where something that you're experiencing watching the show is also true in the show. I think it's typically described as a song used in the opening. Well, that's literally the thing I'm talking about right now. The song used in the opening is a song that the characters can hear. Sorry, I'm just completely blanking. My problem is that I think I've used it multiple times in a row in the last couple of recordings, specifically because it's happened more than once. That the theme song for the show played in the show itself. And it's not often that I get to pull that word out. Because it's like a $10 word. Yeah. I'm a man of $1 words, where I will just describe a thing instead of using the word that is literally meant to describe the thing. But I guess that's what you gotta do sometimes. Sometimes, instead of just like floundering around trying to find the word you're thinking of, just say what it means. Well, that fight didn't take very long. I'm assuming this is atomic vision and not what's actually happened. Because otherwise, we just skipped over a fight. Okay, I guess maybe they're not. Maybe it's not a vision. I mean, they did say this would be perfect for what the Book of the Lion says. And we don't know what the Book of the Lion says. The Emperor? So do they have... We know the Escaflowne is one of a series of superpowered mechs. So is the treasure going to be another one of those kind of mechs? No, it's a pot. Never mind. Okay, that wasn't the treasure, it was just a trap. I did expect this fight to be like more on screen, I guess. I mean, it's the capital, though. Where are you gonna fall back to? I mean, he's basically a child version of Vaughn right now. Okay, I mean, as much as I like shit on that guy for being an idiot, he went down like a man. I mean, though, at some point, do shed tears for them. They're your people. I assume there's like a lot of people who actually don't know. So how's this a safe move? All of Zybok's forces fly.
早く私は見たい。我らの理想の未来を輝かしき未来の像。
フォルトナチン、フレイド最古の寺。
I have to imagine he's described this future to Fulkin, and Fulkin chose to be on board for that. So what is the future of Zybok that requires all of this to happen?
古より伝えられしフレイドの秘宝、何としても守らねばならん。このフォルトナが最後の砦、そなたらゼグー一族に力を借りに来た。
承知しております。我ら一族があるのもこの日のため。ボリス様たちの死、無駄にはいたしません。我らフレイドに生まれし者の、それが定め。
This is gonna be one of those things where Freed has a prophecy that this day would come, so they've all been living for the death that they knew was coming.
シド、フレイドの王家に生まれし者の使命、今お前に伝える。ファーネリア王、アレン、共に戦いに臨む貴君たちにも聞いてもらいたい。
So maybe I was right. It's gonna be another like Escaflowne thing.
嫌な感じ。なんだろうこれ。なんだか不思議な力を感じる。
Atlantean. Oh, it's got the Energist.
そう、この文字は古代アトランティス文字。我々フレイドが古より守れし秘宝とは、アトランティスの力。ここにそのすべてが書き記してある。
アトランティス。
どうしたの？見える。
As far as I can tell, Atlantis is just Earthlings.
地を治め、水を治め、天を治め。
その力、偉大にして民をごり、自らを神と名乗り。
That does look a lot like the
思いを力に変え、アトランティス界を治める。
places in not Dornkirk, in Zybok that we've seen in flashes. So it's a literal Atlantis then.
その力によりアトランティスは滅び、生き残った民は二度とこの力が使われることがない。
But if Atlantis were on Earth, why would they go to Gaia to seal that power somewhere else?
その封印の鍵であるこの剣を守護することこそ我らフレイド王家の務め。シド、アトランティスの力二度と目覚めさせてはならん。お前にもわかるな、我が子ならば。
はい、父上。
So I feel like the implication is that Zybok is like the ruins of Atlantis and without power. Because again, we've seen images of Zybok, and it looked like the Atlantean place there, just like in darkness. Not in darkness, like in ruin? Not even in ruin. Sorry, I can't think of the phrasing here. Where Atlantis looked bright and shiny, Zybok looked like old and dusty, but of similar layout.
Bon?
瞳か。なんだ。
アレンさんが探してたの。 多分ここだろうと思って。
そうか。
顔色良くないよ。何してたの？
瞳が教えてくれたことさ。
え？
この前はすまなかった。お前の気持ちも考えないで。
She's been encouraging you to ask her the entire time, and then she blew up on you the one time you asked.
もういいの。私もヒステリー起こしちゃって。
Vaughn is the least responsible for this.
瞳が教えてくれたダウジングって言うんだっけ？あれをやってみたんだ。
ダウジング？
言ってただろ？心に思えば見えないものだって見えるって。だからさ、エスカフローネをただ使うんじゃなくて思うことにしたんだ。そうすればあいつをもっとうまく動かせる。俺があいつを使うんじゃない。あいつが俺自身となって
I don't know how
戦
that
うんだ。
works specifically.
バーン。
It is just a machine.
瞳、もうお前に。
Okay, you legit just can't start a sentence and then not. Look, the fact that we lose isn't great, and that Duke Freed dies. Yeah, that's the part. That they made it rain blood is the what the fuck is going on here thing. But that's what I'm saying. Zybok rules the skies. That is like the greatest advantage you could possibly have. No, but seriously, it does not matter that Alan gave this, you know? Duke Freed raised the kid. You weren't there. What does it matter who Alan is right anymore? Until Duke Freed dies, of course, because that's just been indicated.
瞳？始まった戦いが。
来やがった。財閥の奴らが攻め込んできやがったぜ。
よーし、第三陣が突破されたらクルゼードの準備だ。ここは俺たちが死守する。わかったな。
That's a hell of a call. I guess you had no choice. If you're all in, you're all in.
神様ですよね。お願いです。バーン様をお守りください。
So a guy in Buddha?
戦いから戻ることができるようお守りください。お願いです。
An Atlantean Buddha on Gaia. I really think Hitomi should bring up the whole Red Rain thing to somebody. Because God knows what the Red Rain is. It could be a biological weapon for all I know. It seems off center, so I don't think it actually hit him. You lose an arm already.
皇后様、ひとまず陣営をお引きください。
解けた。神はアトランティスの力の復活を望んでいる。ガイア界の民がその試練を受けることを望んでいる。ならばくれてやろう。ザイバッハにその力くれてやる。
Why would you?
アトランティスの力は人の思いの力。アトランティスがその力で滅び去ったとして、ガイアが必ずしも同じ運命を
I mean, is this because you see Alan succeeding where you failed and you're like giving up completely on everything?
運命は我らが切り開く。我が子らがその輝かしき未来を導き出す。カジャよ、私は未来に
Like I said, because it really feels like prophecy is what you're working with here, but it's prophecy that we don't know.
シドのこと頼んだぞ。未来を託す。辛き道だろうが操なら乗り切れる。シドは私の子なのだ。
God damn, my dude, you have some thick ass legs.
ここは俺が。皇后。
So, Duke Freed lost his arms and had somebody step in to protect him. Then that person lost their arms and had somebody had to step in to protect them.
フレイド皇后。
我こそはマハドたるフレイドである。手柄欲しければ我と勝負いたせ。我はフレイドの王。
Okay, here's the thing. That was incredibly dumb, but I'm not gonna mock the man for going out like a badass.
お許しになってくださるのですね。もっと一緒にいたかった。私は皇王様のことを愛してしまったから。
Oh, that's gotta hurt a little bit more too. An admission of love on a deathbed.
アレン殿。何をする。離せ。我らの戦いは終わりました。皇王自らのご決断です。お察しください。
Then the Duke went out like Dozel Zabi. I'm not gonna shit on Dozel for his badass exit, so I'm not gonna shit on the Duke for his badass exit.
ディランデ、遊撃隊は引け。フレイド王は死んだ。この戦はもう終わる。お前たちの仕事はその後だ。
楽しみは後に残しといてやるよ。
Yeah, why would you push the advantage if the Duke is dead?
遊撃隊引きます。よし。アデルフォス将軍に通信。ドルンカーク様の命により、これより停戦交渉に入る。全権はこの軍師フォルケンに任された。
You have like, let's say a sixth sense, you technically, I guess, do that you know that they're going to surrender once the Duke died?
ありがとうがです。あなたたちの友情は一生忘れません。しかし、父上が死をもって決断なされたことです。私はこの試練に耐え、必ずフレイドの再興を叶えてみせます。指導寺。瞳が教えてくれたのです。思いは必ず叶うって。王子。僕はもう泣きません。父上と約束したのだから。僕は
He put a lot of hard shit on you, kid.
シド王子の勇気に敬意を表します。これで無用の戦いは終わりました。
フォルケン殿、約束は守っていただけますね。
フレイドが我が国との友情の証を示してくださるのなら、クルゼードと呼ばれるあの浮船がフレイドを出るまで
I mean, that's the...
では、友としての証を。
フレイド王シドザール・フレイドは
I'm saying that's the thing, though, of being the victor. You can be magnanimous in victory.
お頭、出へんだ。どうした？王様が出てこねえ。エスカフローネから出てこねえんだ。何？格納庫にエスカフローネを座らせたっきり動かねえんだ。なんだか変だよ。バーン様、返事をしてください。
Was that wound worse than it seemed? Oh, yeah. Kind of a red rain, if you think about it. Okay. Confusing bit, because it very much seemed like Vaughn had been cut across, but it only kind of touched his clothes. So I'm not exactly certain where he got that injured, unless I missed something. Granted, I'm sure a lot of you were screaming at me that I talked over something important. Quite possible. It seemed like a very important episode, but at the same time, there was a lot of interspersed commentary moments I felt had to be made. I mean, that might explain why he was fighting like he was a demon or a berserker or whatever Delandu said, that he thought he was dying and he was going out fighting, but then would have been harder to have recalled him. No, because they pulled back. That's what I said. Well, that might explain why they pulled back. It's Falcon calling for it, and Falcon is doing a lot of things specifically for his brother's sake, or not his brother's sake, to cause the thing that he wants to happen for him and his brother. But then again, would that imply that he knows that Vaughn's been severely injured?
Escaflowne.
Okay, I guess such with Alan, so with Vaughn. But what the hell was Delandu screaming about? Again, here's the problem I have, is that I've been drawn as Delandu, so I feel kinship to the character. At the same time, I feel like had I known better, I would have had myself drawn as Falcon, because I feel like that's the character I'm most like, as per. So, but I'm not drawn as Falcon, I'm drawn as Delandu, so now I'm tied to him. So now I'm worried, because there's a curse. I have a curse associated with me, which is to say, any character I like, or I guess sometimes I have been drawn as, die. Typically they die early on, but usually it's around the time they say, oh, I really like that guy. Dead. You know, that sort of thing. So herein, seeing Delandu freaking out for no reason, it seems like the fight's over, but then again, we just panned back to the fight. So maybe we're going to get an element of flashing back to what injured Vaughn. Maybe it's not the hit that I saw, but another hit that we didn't see, and then we're going to go back to that. Either way, it does look like Vaughn has been injured more than Alan did when we saw that Alan got injured, and Alan's injury was deadly. But even Alan wasn't bleeding from all over his Guy Melf. Take a moment here to say how stupid a name Guy Melf is. Even when we were calling them Melfs, it was kind of weird. But I guess there's no reason to call them a mech in this, or a mobile suit, or anything like that. I guess, I don't know. Dolem doesn't sound that bad, you know, from Razafon. But Guy Melf, just, I don't know what the origin of the name is. I don't know why Duke Freed suddenly decided to surrender the Atlantean power source. It very much felt like the beginning of the episode, he's like, our point is to die in the defense of this, so don't shed any tears. And at the end, he's like, this is an ordeal from the gods, so clearly we are meant to hand it over to them. And it's like, that does away with all the sacrifices you've made until now. The entire capital is burnt and everyone's dead because you were like, we need to fight to the death. And now you're like, we don't need to fight to the death. I was wrong. I mean, good on you for maybe indicating that you were wrong, but I don't think you were wrong, so I don't know. It really feels like he's pulling a Doctor Strange move, where I've recognized that the winning move is actually to lose now and win later, but I don't know where that's coming from. At least he went out like a badass. That's the only takeaway I can really get from that one. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's going to be it for my notes here on the end of the episode. I think I'll obviously come back with more refined notes or takes on what happened here, because I am boggled at the decision to surrender. This is Babylon 5, like Battle of the Line. Why did the Minbari lose on the precipice of victory? Anyway, that said, I have been Theta. This has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?